This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
Is back up on the air once again, this time on a Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. It is showtime. Bobby Chaffee, the Iceman Rodney Rodriguez, back again for the Revved Up Sports Show. That sounded all right, huh?
Oh, man, it's like riding a bike. They say you always remember how to do it. I guess they say riding a bike and sex. You never forget how to do these things. And here we are again. Back again, man. Good to see you, brother. Haven't seen you in forever, it seems like.
Been a hot minute. Been a hot minute, probably since April-ish, probably.
Yeah, right before April 1st. I mean, because a lot of folks thought that it was an April Fool's prank or whatever, which I think it kind of was at one point. But, I mean, just a little bit of a reset. But, I mean, here we are again. Same hashtag Real Race Talk. Just doing what we've been doing for a long time there, Robert.
Long time. Coming up on 9 years in September will be this little program that everybody thought would fail from the first episode. So,
yeah, I really thought that it would be one of these things because I know that you and I mean, obviously we communicate all the time, but I really thought that maybe it would be really cool to kind of open the show with the reasons that people wanted Revved Up to be on every week. I mean, obviously, they want to hear racing. They want to talk to the guests and they want to hear from the guests and all these different things. But I thought that we could give the reasons, but I'm not sure that I want to hurt people's feelings, others' feelings, if we give the reasons that people wanted this program back full time.
Yeah, well, some secrets are best kept secret. You don't want to bend any fenders, don't want to hurt any feelings, don't want to step on any toes, but needless to say, there has been what do you call a little uproar? Loud whispers of people wanting the show to return back to its glory, maybe.
And that's the whole thing where I think it's really cool in the sense where I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, hey man, you guys need to do it, again. I mean, every now and then or more often or something. And, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, this weekend I was at TMS and I talked to several people that, and the cool thing was that I talked to people from out of state. I mean, I talked to people that were at the NASCAR race that check in on Racing America. And they were like, hey, we'd love some more content because it's kind of unique, I mean, you see there are a lot of racing shows that have evolved and that go right now, but I mean, they're telling you the same thing. I mean, it's like everybody's telling you what you already know. And I think that's what's always been kind of cool about this show is that we kind of tell you things you already know, but we've got to put our own little spin on it, seems like.
Yeah, we got our own little spin on there. Speaking of the take, did you get the donkeys?
No, I haven't looked. I'm just, I've kind of forgotten how to do this stuff. So I'm just making sure that everything is working, which I think it is. And of course, right there from behind the scenes, welcome back. Drop your live comments if you're checking in already. We have one, our man Magic Mike Knotts, who I saw this weekend. And these guys, let me tell you something.
For a big debut, huh? Coming up this weekend for the Legacy cars.
Yeah, man, big time. They will be at Five Flags Speedway. They've done Mobile in the past, but now heading to Five Flags. And I mean, I think that's a really cool deal for them. And I was actually watching In the Groove just a couple of minutes ago, and our man Brian Benedict on there, 16 to 18 cars making that trip. So big time trip for them. And I'm sure that they will not disappoint.
Well, it comes down to the chicken or egg scenario, right? I mean, what comes first, the cars or the invite to racetracks? Yeah. I mean, we've seen it work both ways, but I think in this aspect, I think it's the legacy cars that have shown time and time again that not only can they bring a big car count to Houston consistently, but they've been able to put on some pretty good car counts and some pretty good races there in Mobile too. And Tim Bryant's not a dummy. He knows that lots of race cars buy pit passes, and they also buy food. And if you can get 15 to 18 of them into your back gate, that's actually for nowadays 15, 18 cars is kind of a full field, unfortunately, not like back in the glory days of 25 to 30. So 15 to 18, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good number there for a promoter.
Yeah, and I think that really goes back to what we see on the pavement side right now, because it is. I mean, I know, locally or in Texas, when you go to Houston, I mean, it's legacies and it's legends. I mean, those are the ones they're really drawing the car count, and a lot of that's affordability and different nuances or whatever the case may be, and I think that they are getting the opportunity to really go shine, and I was one to where when I know when I was at Mobile, when the legacies came, I'm like, man, that's a big racetrack. And those cars, I mean, they kind of hit their peak, around, I don't know, 6,500 RPMs. It's like, I mean, they're kind of I wasn't sure if it was going to be a good race, but the thing is that those things are so even. I think that it's something where they're going to draw a lot of attention. Plus, the cars are badass. I mean, the cars are really badass looking. Where they're 3/4 scale or whatever the case may be. They're really good looking race cars. So I think that they're going to do really well over there. And I think if anything that happens here, they're going to get an influx. And I really foresee here at some point that you're going to have a Five Flags, Mobile, Montgomery, Sunny South, maybe even in Houston thing, to where these guys are really going to set the world on fire. And here's something that's really a shame, in my opinion, that these guys are doing this trip and doing all these different things. They race for pennies. They are not paid very well, and
they're not paid very well. That's kind of sad.
Yeah, they're paid very little.
And if you pay more, you might even get more.
That's the whole thing, and I think a series like that draws car counts. I mean, they need to be paid. They need to be paid handsomely for what they bring to the back gate and what they do to entertain the crowd. And like Mike is talking about right here, Mike walked up to me at TMS, and he's like, "Buddy, we're doing Five Flags and Mobile next weekend. I want you to drive one of my cars, and I've got a work thing that I can't." And I'm like, "Are you? Oh, ah." I said, now that would be the trip that I would.
You got gear. See, he wants me to drive one of his cars, but I don't have any gear.
Oh, yeah. I've got gear. I mean, my whole concern about driving one of Mike's cars is, and he quickly answered this, because I'm like, I'm not sure that I can dive in a car that, Riley Allen or these folks drive. And he said, oh, no, I got a fat guy seat. And I said, all right, well, there you go. So at some point, I'm going to get in one of those. But they are in for a great weekend, and good for them. I mean, good for them. I really like this double header that we have on the pavement at the two tracks, because you've got the legacies, and then you got the modifieds of mayhem. And to me, those are two really different divisions. And I think that kind of the unsung ones. I mean, people love the pros and the supers and all that. I mean, if you can get the trucks rolling, I mean, you have a show at some point where you have modified trucks and legacies. Shit. I mean, I'll take that, 8 days a week.
Maybe throwing some Crown Vics would be pretty damn entertaining.
Crown Vics or something that are really going.
Speaking of Crown Vics, Owen's got a new one.
There you go.
I know the source. I know the source that sold it to him too.
So are you a little bit tied to that, or did you throw in a clause right there where in writing it's
there's like a half-ass handshake deal that maybe the first person that gets to drive that car might be me?
There you go. And I mean, I think that's a division. And again, when I watch those, that's where it's like when I see the legacies, the success that they have on pavement and with Crown Vics, Bobby, that's where, I mean, I go back to, and I'm like, God, we had all that a long time ago. Yeah. In the mid 2010s and all that, or early 2010s. It's like, man, we had all that and we couldn't capitalize, and boom, here it is. And it's doing great things. I'm just glad that it's doing great things, because that's the thing. We need this thing to keep doing good things somehow.
Well, yeah, the Texas guys that represent, they'll end up showcasing and showing out just like they always do. And there's a good contingent there in Mobile that'll try to put on a pretty good show there at Five Flags. So that'll be one to watch. I'm assuming you can watch it Friday night on Racing America, right?
Yeah, I would assume that's a subscriber event that you should be able to watch both of them. And that's part of your subscription thing there, to where you get those events and and 2 half miles. I mean, that's a really cool thing. And I just like the fact that over there along the Gulf Coast that you have those back-to-backs, whether it's super late models or modifieds, or in this case legacies and modifieds, that you've got, because in the glory days over there, that's really what it was. You remember you had the Mobile and the Pensacola back-to-back, and those were really cool events. And it seems like they've got that going again. And I really, especially right now in the time that we have such a disconnect and such it's a freaking mess. That's the only way to put it with the super late models, to where you do have, to where it's like with UARA, I mean, things kind of falling apart there with Cordeal, but now they found a new home, for a big league preview and the different things for the Freedom Factory. It really seems like Tim Bryant and Eddie Shoemaker are making a really conscious effort to work together, and that's something that we've needed for a long time on the pavement side.
Yeah, well, now we just need to find a way to get Houston involved and try to get a real deal Gulf Coast championship going. I mean,
yeah,
I'd love to get a modified Mayhem race back in Houston. Obviously, we'd love to get a Southern Super Series race, pro late model or Southern Super Series race there in Houston. I think I've always said, if you could get a snowball qualifier in Houston, you'd be able to sell the place out.
I would hope
provisional, like because you draw all the guys from the West Coast are towing all the way to Pensacola as it is to test for the Derby. But imagine if you had a provisional pop up there in Houston, and the guy that wins it is guaranteed a provisional there in the Snowball Derby. I think that could make for one hell of a show, because I think you get a hell of a lot of those West Coast guys coming over for that in Houston.
Yeah, I think so too. And so much of that, I mean, it's money. I mean, the travel. I mean, it's really hard for all that to happen. Look who's checking in right here, Brian Benedict, fresh off of being talking about Five Flags, and a good job of doing that. Really good description there of talking about what the legacies are, because a lot of people don't. They don't really know. I mean, they have no idea. I mean, they don't know what these cars are, and I think that the Mobile folks the Pensacola folks are going to be pretty excited when they see kind of what these cars look like, because it's one of those things that a lot of them, they can hold it wide open when they're running around out there, and they look really cool. I mean, I think that's the whole thing about it. It looks like an older stock car. So I think that's really cool. But yeah. Super excited for the weekend that's coming up on pavement. We'll talk about dirt. Really sucks this past weekend. I was really looking forward to what was going to happen at Boot Hill, but it was just, the weather was just so detrimental. It was horrible, and that falls by the wayside. But the good thing is they've gone in there. That's totally rescheduled, and I think the thing with that, Bobby, with the factory stocks, it gives them more time to get ready. And as if there weren't going to be enough of them, there's even going to be more coming up.
Yeah, there should be a few more that's going to make that show. So it's, I think that the track, it's so hard. People, you and I have been on both sides of the fence, both as racers and not actually being the promoter with the man with the cash that gets his ass handed to him at the end of the night. Mm-hmm. We've been in war rooms where you've got to make the decision as to whether or not to cancel big events, and it is not. Everybody thinks it's so easy. And especially nowadays with everybody having a radar in their pocket. Well, my radar said it ain't supposed to rain till 12:01. As long as we get done at midnight, we'll be all right. Mm-hmm. Well, my radar says it's supposed to start raining at 7:01. And if we start at 7 o'clock, we're going to get rained out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Revved up back on a Tuesday. So it'll be Tuesdays at 7 Central will be the time. And I thought it was only fitting that if we're going to bring Revved Up back, because one of the biggest days or biggest nights of the show was, back in 2018, I think it was, when the show kind of hit a different peak, when the great Freddie Fryer joined us, for over an hour of conversation. And truly one of the, I will go out on a limb here. We've talked to a lot of great folks. We've talked to, the Allisons and so forth, but I think Freddie, it was just such an intimate, great conversation. And to me, Bobby, I think that changed the whole path of this program.
Yeah, I think it did too. When we got a chance to talk to Freddie, I think Freddie enjoyed that too. He got to sit down in his rocking chair, maybe had a little bit on the cold beverage side there. Maybe might have been sipping on a Dr. Pepper too. We don't know. But I think he actually enjoyed that too, going down memory lane, because I think he said the same thing all the legends say. I didn't think anybody cared anymore, but yet everybody still did.
Yeah, absolutely. Only fitting that we bring the show back on a new day and time, and we keep it in the Fryer family. Presented by On Demand Shirts, the official T-shirt, cap, and everything provider of the Revved Up Sports Show. Hey, man, it's a Fryer family. This show is Fryer. Let's welcome in our man Jared Fryer. Jared, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How about y'all?
Doing well, man. Doing well. And I got to tell you, Jared, we've talked about it so many different times. When Freddie joined us, that was so special to me, and I think that may have been one of the last interviews he did. And we were going to do like 30 minutes with him that day, and he just kept on going. He said, "I got it. Let's go. Let's go. I've got stuff to talk about."
Yeah, I can believe it, man. They got a lot of good stories from the good old days, as they call it.
Absolutely.
So, Jared, talk about that relationship with Pop Pop, with your grandfather there. I mean, obviously, when you show up with a 14 and you show up with the Fryer name anywhere in the Southeast, the first thing is going to be the people that don't know, they'll be like, are you related to that Freddie guy from back in the day? Like, how much has that, I mean, has that directly affected your career in a positive manner? Or has that end up added a little pressure to try to perform in the way that grandpa did?
I definitely think it's both. I definitely think though it's affected it positively, in a good way, I guess I'd say. Because it seems like nowadays it's harder to kind of make a name for yourself. And lucky for me, I had good genes and good
Mhm.
bloodline growing up in the racing world. So it definitely helped. Super special to keep the Friar tradition going and racing and winning. So try to do it as long as I can, and hopefully be half as good as him one day.
Oh man, I'll tell you, you're on the right path, my man. So we'll talk about the win at Orange County here in just a second, but I'd love to kind of quiz you a little bit with the Cars Tour with the late model stocks, because it's one of those things to where that we've always loved that series. Those of us in the short track circles that have been at this for a little bit, and you guys that have competed in it, you've got championships and so forth. But how kind of your thoughts, not doing it full time, doing it when you can. How has that series kind of changed now that it's become more of a mainstream? It's kind of the big deal right now. Thoughts on that on the Cars Tour and the late model stocks?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, it changes every year. I feel like, and not necessarily the ownership, but just the class of drivers. Is the biggest thing. I think you see a lot more younger guys nowadays, and maybe in the years past. That's the biggest thing that I see. I mean, obviously, with the ownership, has definitely been better,
Mhm.
and doing good things to promote it and help us, get more publicity with it. So um, it's definitely the best thing going for late model stocks as far as touring series in North Carolina, and it's been fun to run. Shoot, I've been with the Cars Tour for 8 or 9 years, I think now. So
Absolutely.
got some experience with it, seen a lot of things come and go, new racetracks, old racetracks, and stuff, and it's been a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. Obviously like to race more full time, but at the same time, it is nice running part time like we are.
Absolutely.
So, Jared, I think one of the things that surprised me the most is we kind of gauge the national appeal and kind of what SiriusXM does, where they obviously talk NASCAR and stuff like that, but there's three things they talk about throughout the year: is they talk about the Snowball Derby, they talk about the Chili Bowl, and they bring up Cars Tours a lot. The Cars Tour a lot on their program. Obviously, the ownership side with the NASCAR connection helps, but this race coming up there at North Wilkesboro and being on Fox, being on FS1, on a weeknight in prime time. Like, how big is that? Do you think it's going to end up possibly turning into a shit show with some of these younger kids trying to win on the big stage and the big TV? Or you think some of the veterans are going to put a stop to that and it's just going to be one hell of a show?
As much I'm not going this year, which I'm not a big fan of the new Wilkesboro style track, but as much as I hate to say, and to be 100% honest with you, I just don't think it's going to be much of a show. I mean, they kind of ruined the racetrack for our cars when they paved it now so fast, and it's really hard to race for our cars. I mean, hell, they're almost wide open there. It seems like now, and in the last couple, well, I say last couple, the last race definitely wasn't good, and everybody was kind of driving over their head. I feel like they'll be doing the same there, but it's hard to say. I know that's not what people want to hear, but I feel like that's the truth. And they might go out there and surprise me, and everybody run a clean race. But I just know I haven't raced there, but watching and hearing and seeing things, like I know how hard it is to pass there, and aero plays a more factor now, and it's just a lot harder to drive them cars at that speed too. I feel like for guys that's never been there, and to me, it's just not going to race good. Most tracks that's got fresh pavement don't really promote good racing, unfortunately. But it is cool that they're going to be on FS1 and be there for that weekend. I think it's going to be special and good for the car store. Just hope everything goes good and they don't have a race like they did this past weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared, are you surprised with the late model stocks? I mean, because it's very much a copycat world. I mean, whatever sport you're looking at. I mean, you look at super late models and ARCAs and different things. Are you surprised that somebody hasn't tried to do a late model stock league that would rival the Cars Tour? I think that kind of speaks to the stability of the Cars Tours, that nobody's tried to do this. I mean, I've said for a long time in Texas, it's like, if we could have a late model stock class, maybe that's something that would revive some stuff. But nobody seems to want to go down that road against the Cars Tour.
Yeah, and it's so hard to do in North Carolina, because the late model stocks are only in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and a few tracks in Tennessee. So you don't really have much pull from other states, and so it's a little bit harder, I feel like, and obviously the Cars Tour's got a good thing going. So yeah, I don't see anything coming along and to be better, So like I said, with who where the region of the cars are too, like I said, it's harder to get, say cars from Texas or Florida to come up there because there's just not any. Everybody's up there. It's a very regional deal. It would be nice to see the late model stock grow throughout the country and to go to some of these other racetracks. I know Junior's really pushing hard to go outside the footprint there of North Carolina and run some of these bigger tracks or different tracks that late model stock's never been to. So I'm really excited about that. I really hate I didn't get to go to Cordele this past year. I was really wanting to go, and things just didn't work out. So hopefully they'll make it down to Pensacola or Nashville for too long, and I can make it for that.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that could be scary. Late model stocks at Nashville. That All American 400 tears up enough equipment as it is. Imagine a Cars Tour at Nashville. Ooh,
Yeah,
that would be entertaining if you own a body shop and if you work for 5-star. You would be, at first you'd be really happy, and then you start worrying about all the overtime you'd have to work to make all the body panels you got to replace after that. But in terms of expanding the series, right? That race in Cordele was definitely outside what I would call the comfort zone from the Mid-Atlantic that the late model stock cars are used to, and obviously down to Pensacola would be an amazing race, even to the fairgrounds. But how is it? What I'm trying to say is, does the car, if they keep expanding out, to outside the Mid-Atlantic, is that going to make the Cars Tour too big, and it's going to make it cost too much to go? Where some of these more pocketbook driven drivers decide to get an ARCA car versus a late model stock car?
Oh, 100%. I think it will. I think that's what's a huge benefit with having Junior in the series. Physically racing in the series, being at the racetracks and seeing how things go. I feel like he's got a really good control and understanding of everything because he knows, like, if he has more than one race a year outside the area there, like, he's not going to get cars. So that's why he's wanting to have one race outside North Carolina, South Carolina, I feel like, a year and try to grow it and maybe eventually step it up to two. But I just don't think, it's hard. It's really hard to get them guys to travel, it seems like. And so, having more than one, I feel like a year is a huge step and a big ask because it does cost a lot nowadays. I think that's another thing too. When we race, majority of the tracks are under 3 hours, I'd say, from our shop that we run. So, super close and convenient for all them guys too. And for them to drive 8 hours one way and not been at a racetrack they've never been to, they want to go test multiple days for the race weekend. It just, kind of runs the price of things up, unfortunately.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, Jared, your season. I mean, obviously the win at Orange County, kind of one of those middle of the week things. You've run 2 races. You got a win. You got a top 5. You got a top 10. Let's kind of talk about your season. Is that one of those things to where you guys are picking and choosing events? I mean, you've got the win, a dominating win, by the way. You take the lead on lap 66 and never look back. You're gone. But kind of talk about that. Is it one of those things to where it with a work schedule, or are you picking and choosing tracks? How's that working for you guys this year?
Yeah, it's a logistic thing for me. I'm currently living in Jacksonville, Florida, so it's 6-7 hour ride to the shop,
Yeah.
and it's a 4-day weekend for me. Time away from work and my wife and stuff. So balancing that's tough, but um, it's been working out well, and it works out good too. Racing full time is super tough. I mean, these past couple weeks for the car store guys really showed. They ran Orange County and then had Ace the next week, and then they have this weekend off and go again to North Wilkesboro, and a lot of the cars got tore up there between Orange County and Ace. So it's a thrash, and that's one thing I don't miss. If you have a bad weekend like that, it could really set you back in the shop, and that I like that race good and that pay good to go to. So we try to spread the schedule out evenly so we don't race back to back, and be fully prepared to go to the racetrack, and have all our ducks in a row, because it's super important. I feel like nowadays it's always been tough, but I feel like now it's even more of a challenge. With having more cars and better car quality cars too lately, it seems like. So um, you know it's kind of goes back and forth, but obviously having experience is what's really helped me, and having a good crew chief, Kendall Sellers, has been huge for me.
Mhm.
So, Jared, in terms of Dale Jr. running with the Cars Tour and different stuff, is that does that add a level of curiosity to some racers? Because instead of being like wanting to learn from Dale Jr., they're like, I just want to outrun Dale Jr. because he's got JRM and all that stuff. I mean, is him? You mentioned that him having a good control of the series because he's racing in it. Does that from the newer drivers, or your more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't say arrogant, but that's not the right word. You're more thoughtful drivers of themselves, maybe. Is that detrimental to some aspects where they just want to go out and just put on a show on Flow Racing and just put up on their mantle, hey, I beat Dale Jr.
I don't know. I guess maybe some of them think that, but I know a lot of them run the cars tour, and really skip a lot of, like, how I grew up racing. Starting at a limited late model and getting your feet wet. Kind of getting experience and results up, and then moving to the cars tour. Where now I feel like everybody just jumps straight in the late model and goes straight to the cars tour to race. So it's definitely changed a lot, and that's what like I said earlier, the class of the field has changed a ton. With people moving on up to trucks, Xfinity, whatever, and so like Lane Riggs and Corey Heim. We raced with them for a couple years there in the 2021, and then they come back and run a race here and there with us. But now we got a bunch of young kids and inexperienced kids, I feel like, in the series. I mean, there's still some veterans in the series, but it doesn't seem like as many as there used to be.
Absolutely. So, Jared, anything that you're doing racing related when you're not on the track? I mean, because I mean, you've spotted, you've done different things, working with different teams. If you're not on track, are you still involved, or are you just kind of staying away from it unless you're, behind the wheel of that late model stock?
No, honestly, I've been involved with it. I've been crew chiefing and helping that Michael Foes that runs some local stuff, and then some cars tour races. It's been a lot of fun doing that. Being able to share my knowledge that I've learned, racing over the years with cars tour and these different racetracks has been a lot of fun, and been driving the same kind of chassis with RNS there for the last 5 years too. So I've learned a lot there, and to be able to give the knowledge that I've learned with that to them, and see success has been a lot of fun too. And you know, enjoying that on the weekends when I'm not racing.
Well, Jared, the good news is we heard Cletus McFarland is going to race a Dale Jr. car in the Cars Tour at some point to get some more oval experience. So hopefully that won't turn into the circus that it could be. But what's your take on a guy like Cletus McFarland, dude? Totally off the top of the subject, because you and your family been in the racing business for a long time. You get a YouTuber like Cletus McFarland, right? Knows drag racing, all of a sudden wants to go NASCAR racing, and he ends up bringing in a complete new demographic. Is that a good thing, or is that a bad thing in your opinion when you got a guy like Cletus McFarland coming in?
I think it's a great thing, what he's done with his on short track, and and his channel and everything, and all the fans and attention he's brought. I think it's a great thing. I think it's pretty cool. I've never been. Well, I shouldn't say never. I've just haven't seen his content or anything. But after seeing some stuff after the Talladega and Daytona stuff, I'm a big fan of Cletus too. I like what he's doing. He cares about it and he's trying. So I think it's really cool. And like I said, he's got a big following and does a lot of good. I feel like for short track racing. So it's pretty cool. And hopefully one day I'll race with him.
Yep, got to get some eyeballs on the sport. Lastly, my man, so next time we get to see you behind the wheel of that famous number 14, when's the next time that you're going to go out and pick up another checkered flag?
We'll go run the Car Store race at Langley Speedway May 31st, I think it is.
Okay.
That'll be the next one for me. Got a little schedule conflict for the Wilkesboro race, but looking forward to getting back there with the Cars Tour. Like I said, had a lot of fun with them and really enjoyed running with the series. And obviously everything went good there at Orange County. So that was a good night for us. And I know I didn't elaborate on how our season's been, but our season started off a little rough. The first race, we only run 5 laps, got caught up in that wreck there, and so that was kind of a letdown because I felt like we had a good race car. Didn't qualify where I felt like I needed to, but I felt like we had a good race car, and so we were able to. We ran there, and then we ran the speed weeks at Southern National Motorsports Park, and had good success there. Picked up a win there, and then second place. So that was good. And then had some momentum going into Orange County, which is one of my favorite racetracks, and we ran good there last year. So it was good to go there, unload fast, car drove great, and then just you know everything come together in the race and just worked out really good. Had good car, had good tires, restarts, everything worked out in order for us to win. I feel like there's a lot that goes into winning a race and winning a car store race. 125 laps might not seem long, but it's a long time, especially when you got cautions and multiple grooves at the racetrack too. The line kind of moved around throughout the night, which is awesome. I love that style of racing and that style of racetrack. And it really played into our favor or my favor, I feel like. So it was a good night. It was a lot of fun, and it was just huge to win. I feel like at that level now, and they're so hard. I mean, you might have a good car, but something bad happen or not go right, and not be able to capitalize on it. So to capitalize on the wins when everything's going good is really important, I feel like, nowadays.
Yeah, isn't that kind of a nice thing too? Because I remember, racing weekly, in a stock class to where it's like, even though that you're racing on Friday or Saturday, you're kind of always thinking about the next race, and everything. When you go out there and you're not worried, you're in Orange County, you're not worried about going to Ace. You're not
Right.
worried about
Yeah.
any of that. Isn't that kind of a cool thing to where it's like, okay, it's all right here. I mean, I'm going to lay it all out right here.
Exactly. And honestly, it's like people ask me, they're like, "What's your next race?" I was like, "Well, I know we're going to Langley." I said, honestly, after that, I haven't even really looked. Like all focus is on Langley, and then once we get through Langley, we'll look at the next race and go to it. I got a schedule of races that we're gonna run, but just trying to focus on what's ahead of us. And when you run like that, I feel like it's a little bit easier. Where when you run a full season, and you go to some racetracks that aren't your strongest, and there's a couple on the schedule that I just don't run good at, and it's tough to not overthink it and have to worry about the next weekend, and to go out there to run the races that you want to run and look for things in the car that you need and places you got a good feel with in the race car to run good. So that's been huge for me.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. Great run at Orange County, my man. I'm sure that's going to be the first of a few wins this year. Probably every time that you're entered, you're going to be right there in the hunt, man. Thank you for joining us, rechristening our program. Like I said, there's got to be a fryer involved if we're diving back in, man. Congratulations on that one. Good luck at the next one, and I'm sure we'll do this again very soon, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I can kick the series back off again for y'all. Maybe not as good as my pops was, but hopefully get a few more.
That's all right. That's a good thing. All right, dude. Be well. We'll chat with you later on, buddy.
Awesome, thank you guys.
You bet. There he goes, Jared Fryer. Good run right there. And again, the thing with Jared, like when he was full time, it was always, Jared was always in the hunt and would win races. But I wanted to ask him that because it really is. I mean, I had to think that the sense of not worrying about the next race. I mean, because he put it on him. I mean, he took the lead and he's gone. I mean, just took him to the woodshed. And that was so good to see, for Jared, because that dude is just a great race car driver.
Well, and he's a good dude. First and foremost, that's what makes it great when you see good people that come from good racing families and work their ass off to get what they have and to do what they do. That's when you appreciate it more, in my opinion. When you see somebody that didn't just get it handed to them, they had to work for it and go for it. That's when it's a feel good story for me. That's what I like to see in racing is the feel good stories, not just some of your let's write a check and let's mow some grass and let's wreck some trucks.
Yeah. And you see Jared, I mean, that dude's working on his car. I mean, that guy is out there working, they're hammering away. I mean, and that's what it's all about. And that's what's always been really cool about Jared Fryer. Good conversation right there. That's the pavement side. Let's go over to the dirt side as we are back here with the Revved Up Sports Show on a Tuesday night, 7:00 Central. Now let's kind of talk some dirt track racing. And here's another show favorite. We had to bring back our show favorites because we knew if we were going to rechristen the program, we had to talk to the dudes that like to get on here and talk racing. And this dude drives a little bit of everything. Let's welcome back to Revved Up. It is our man, Ray Allen Kohanek. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you for taking the time. So what you working on this week, dude? I mean, it's you. Every time I look up, you're in something different. What's next on the horizon for you?
Pretty sure we're probably going to go back over to Texana Raceway this coming weekend with my car, the Limited, and then possibly the factory stock that I've been running the last couple of weekends that I've raced as well. That when they put up 1,000 to win guaranteed money, and then plus whatever else gets thrown in on top, it's just kind of hard to drive past it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I know the feeling. I will be there in Texana myself. Probably see you in one of the classes in Victory Lane again. But that goes to my question, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the track. I'm just more curious. We were talking about earlier with the legacy cars getting invited to Pensacola and Mobile because they brought the car count versus did you bring the money first? As a hardcore racer like you, is it the money factor or is it the competition factor that may say pull more cars to Edna? I mean, I would say, paying the money, guaranteeing whether there's 5 cars or 25 cars helps. But I mean, with these established classes, is that what helps getting the car count there? Is that extra money, that guaranteed money?
Well, sure. I mean, anytime you throw up a little bit of money, especially in the times that we're in right now with the economy and stuff being as bad as it has been. I mean, man, everybody's businesses and stuff are on the struggle, and racing is obviously so expensive. So anytime you can go and race for more money, I mean, most of your top tier drivers, that's what they're going to do. And if you pay attention to all of the big paying races, I mean, you that's when you draw the elite drivers and stuff on top of locals and a few others that will just try to go in and make a little noise at a big race. Obviously, this is just a Saturday night deal, but like I said, with 1,000 being on the line, there's no driving past that for me. Being out of Corpus now, it's just we're gonna go where they're paying money at and whatever makes financial sense. And I'm an economical racer myself. I just try to make sense of what we do and try not to just throw money down the drain.
Absolutely. Ray, let's talk about that part. You kind of beat me to the punch right there. It really seems like, I mean, you have the big money races, you have all of that, whether it's a limited modified or a factory stock, whatever the case may be, even a stock car. But it really seems like here in Texas, and now even on the southern part of Texas, you're in Corpus, it really seems like now you guys have so many different options to where you can go to a weekly track and really get out there and get after it with some of the best. I mean, you show up at 37 or the Race Ranch or Cotton Bowl or wherever, and you never know who's going to pull in the pits, man. Or you get out there and you guys are just driving your asses off out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like this past weekend, we drove up to Cleveland to go run 105 Speedway. It ended up being like 4,000 to win in the factory stock, and then it ended up paying, I think, 1,400 or so to win in the limited, and so there was good money on the line, in both of those classes, and that's what I generally race the most now. That since I've started the shop business and stuff, I stay pretty busy or whatever with that, and then with working on cars and stuff, so I gotta pick and choose what I can race and what's within driving distance, because again, back to the same thing, gas is so expensive. Just the whole ordeal and travel time and obviously being away from family and stuff. Luckily, my better half, her and Avery, they're constantly in competitive gymnastics, and so pretty much about every weekend they're doing that, and I'm on the road going racing somewhere. So basically Sunday is kind of our family day, and really and honestly is the only day that we get to spend any time together, because like I said, hell, they won't even get home until probably around 8:45 tonight, and that's a normal deal. Like I'd normally get home anytime between 8 and 9, and they get home between 8:45 and 9, and so it's just one of those deals, man. Like I said, running up and down the roads is so expensive, and thank goodness, we all know it's going to turn around and stuff. It'll get better, over the next 4 years, and definitely, I just don't see the prices of racing parts and cars and everything else going down with the rest of the world. I hate to say that. But some of the things might drop a little bit, but again, it's just money's on the line. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to chase that. And again, back to the same thing on the competition side. I never steer away from competition. I go where the money is at, and that brings competition. And I always want to outrun the best guys that there are to race. And like I said, it just, anytime you can win a big race, that puts a feather in the cap, and let you know where you stand with your racing program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that when Cotton Bowl ran the factory stocks and the limiteds as a support class for the World Outlaws, that showed that those two are the hierarchy of where it is. Nothing against Stims, because Stims put on a hell of a race at Texana a couple of weeks ago. But is that really where you see the bread and butter in the racing in right now in Texas, even up in Arkansas and Louisiana? Is that mix between a factory stock and a limited? I mean, because the modifieds they're great, they put on a good show, but damn, those things can be expensive. I mean, a factory stock too. I mean, people trying to sell turnkey for $30,000. So
they're I mean, no joke. They're all super expensive. Be honest with you, I mean, I like the modified class, but what steers me away from that is honestly the amount of work that goes into those cars in comparison, to a factory stock or a limited. Like I said, working on shocks all day, every day, and then working on cars and everything else. These are just don't get me wrong. I spend every bit of about anywhere from a light week would be 20 hours to 30 hours a week, just on the limited as it sits. And then, so like I said, bouncing from that, and then running whatever else I can get in at the time. We got, the mini sprint ride that I drive for James Parks. We've been able to go out with that thing one weekend. Finally got our first win and stuff, since we've started that, and it happened to be a national series deal. So that was a pretty big deal. And like I said, I just bounce around, run whatever I can, wherever I can. I look forward to chasing the bigger money shows. And again, it's back to a lot of my buddies and stuff, from back at home out of the Houston area. It's really honestly when I get to see those guys, and so the camaraderie of that, and it's just enjoyable. I like going and being at a racetrack for 2 or 3 days, and doing the kind of camping out deal and cooking and having a couple of cold beers and just enjoying the time, like who knows when our last race is going to be. So I try to enjoy each one of them.
Yeah. So Ray, let's talk about it from the, you mentioned your business. I mean, obviously with shocks and so forth, let's kind of talk about that part, because it's one of those things to where it's really, really hard to race these days. But I think when it comes to being in the racing business, where it's on a positive side, especially for you as a business owner, you probably got a lot of customers and a lot of clients. So kind of talk about that, and let's talk about the business side for you when it comes to racing.
Yeah, so it's growing for sure. Like I said, I'm on year 3 right now. It's constantly. I mean, I sold two sets of shocks today. One to a wing modified guy, another set to another factory stock customer, and you know, it's good to have the variety. It's a very, very, very hard business to be in, just for the simple fact that, you know, this is a hobby for most. And, you know, when you get rainouts, you know, like we've kind of started the season off having, you know, when we got 2 weeks, you know, worth of rainouts, man, it can get real slow real fast. But when racing is booming, especially when money races and stuff are coming along, you know, then business picks up, and then it's just like I'm clawing just to stay awake and get everything done, you know, because obviously I want to go race it, you know, myself, but the business comes first. And so that's part of it. I got, you know, one of my newest customers, Ryan Harris, man, he's gotten to run my stuff twice. First night out was actually at the Outlaw Show at Cotton Bowl. First night on it, he won. And then the last, not this past time that I raced 105, but the time before, me and him ended up duking it out for first and second and stuff over there. And so it's just good getting another, you know, top tier driver that I feel is very capable of winning some of these bigger races, and you know, making a staple and stuff for my business and stuff is a big help. And I enjoy working with everybody. I can talk racing and race cars all day long. I mean, it's just kind of one of those deals. I've lived, eat, breathe shit racing my entire life. I don't know what else to do with my life. I don't really want to. Luckily, like I said, my significant other, she was raised around the racing and stuff as well, so she knows the game, and she knows what this means to me. My little girl loves going to the races and being around it as well. And again, I was born in a racing family, and this is all I've ever done. And I'm just head over heels in love with it. As my first love, and this is all I've ever done.
So Ray, you've run a lot of different cars, and what's the key? Is it to get this next generation of kids involved, right? I say that because at Texana, there's somewhat of a slight disconnect between running the go-karts in intermission versus just running the big cars. And it's like, try to convey that message that, look, these are the next generation of racers. They got to come from somewhere. They don't just go from the grandstands into a factory stock or a hobby stock or whatever. Is there something else? Not, like I said, not speaking on behalf of the racetrack or anything, but is that the most logical step, or do you think there's better ways to get this next generation of racers involved, or is go-karting kind of that right mentality to go?
I mean, the go-kart stuff is definitely a very, very, very good avenue. And them running, you know, during the nights of the big cars running, you know, those kids that are racing, that, you know, in the go-kart stuff, they're paying attention to the big cars. And you know, it's the competition. At least that's what it's always been for me. It doesn't matter what it is or what I've done, whether it been sports or an argument or whatever. I want to win. That's all there is. I mean, everything else outside of winning sucks. Obviously, I mean, you take your seconds, thirds, fifths, and DNFs and everything. You take them on the chin and move on to the next one. And there's a lot of nights where I might be content with that. But as far as the kids go, in our area, I don't really foresee there being a better avenue for them to get started in it or be attracted to it, other than just being out at a racetrack. the cart deal is a good deal. I still run carts and stuff in February, and it's number one. I enjoy it. I like the I like the atmosphere of the indoor deal down there in Robstown. The competition that is there, it's tough, and winning in anything is not easy. I don't care what it is. So I think the kids being involved in that, and then some of the big car racers being involved in the kart racing and kind of guiding some of these kids along is another help. I have a couple of customers that are our kids. I actually here a couple weeks ago took off from racing myself to actually go crew chief for one of the kids in the mini sprint, and just basically wrenching on the car, driving coach, walking him and the parents and stuff through the night, of how this is how things are done. And I'm not saying my way is a million % the right way or the only way, but I've been successful at it, and so I just try to pass that along. And like I said, I'm just lucky enough to get to make a living doing what I'm doing and loving what I do.
I think that's a big thing to where racers now, I mean, you need to give back. I mean, because that's like me, being an older guy now, it was all the racers that helped me in the past, that kind of guided me on what to do. And even as a kid, sign an autograph. I mean, whatever the case was. So I do want to ask you, because it really seems like, the factory stocks had kind of, I mean, it blew up. There was and it's still a really big deal. We talked about it a while ago, limited modified, sport mod, whatever you want to call it. It seems like we have really found a balance right there to where those two are just, for at least for the rest of this season and probably moving on. I think that we got some really bright days coming up with big shows and regular shows to where it's really cool to see healthy car counts in those divisions. I think at any given dirt track on a weekly show.
For sure. Man, like I said, there's so much money on the line in these factory stocks and stuff now. It's plumb crazy. And don't get me wrong, I love racing everything. It's funny how what I would consider to be a bomber is racing for the biggest purses. And but man, you just look at the car count that pulls at a 5,000, 10,000, 15, and now we're going to have a 30,000 here in another, couple of weeks at Boot Hill. Man, I mean, it's just, but don't get me wrong, that same scenario, those cars are expensive. The motor stuff or whatever is pretty much in line with what a limited motor is price wise. Cars, like I said, those things are expensive as well. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy about factory stock racing is, man, those things are dang near as expensive as a limited, if not more, by some chassis builders that they just go out there and beat the hell out of each other in those things. And I'm like, good heavens. I can't stand getting a scratch on my car. And so I do my damnedest to just not touch anybody. I race as hard as I possibly can. And I know things are going to happen and we're going to touch, but I try my hardest not to, because I hate body work. I like for my stuff to stay looking nice. I work hard on it. I take a lot of pride in my equipment. And it's neat that these two classes, here quite a few years back were considered a lower tier class, right? And now look at them. It's the biggest, classes in the state of Texas. And I would consider, even Louisiana and partially Oklahoma. They've grown leaps and bounds, and they've had their bad years where they kind of fall off. And I don't really know what the answer is on why that is. Whether it be economy or whatever, but they've just always kind of succeeded. And I've heard over the last 2 years, man, the limiteds they're going down here. They're going to die. I'm still waiting on that, because we're still pulling, at some of these tracks, 15, 20 to 30 cars on a Saturday night. So there's some tracks that are struggling, but it just depends, I think, really on the area and how things are ran and so on and so forth.
So Ray, when you won at Texana a couple of weeks ago, the one thing that I appreciated is the one thing that I think some guys miss in the big picture thing. And what that was is that you remember to thank the fans for showing up. And I don't know if that's just because that's all your years of experience running some of the bigger cars, your sprint cars and late models and stuff like that. How important is it to drill into these guys' heads? Because I was at a drivers' meeting with KR for the Stims race, and he said, I don't care how mad you get on the racetrack. I don't care if you're mad at me. I don't care if you get mad at another driver. When you get on that microphone, first thing you do is thank the fans. How hard is that for us to try to drill that into these guys' minds and nowadays to be when first thing you do is you thank God, thank the sponsors, and thank the fans for being there? How hard of a concept is that? Why don't more guys think that way?
Honestly, I don't know why. I don't know. I've done this for so long, and again, like I said, on so many levels, and I've raced, you know, some of my fondest memory fan wise was actually at Royal Purple Raceway or Houston Raceway Park. Man, they had such a good gig going there. When we would have ASCS shows there, they gave away free tickets, free admission tickets, right? And they charged $20 a car to park. Okay, well, a car brings in, just say it brings, 5-6 people in one car, so they're getting in for $20. All right, well, they did that 3 or 4 different times, and each time that they did that, I mean, it was standing room only at that facility. And if y'all remember how big those stands were, and when I'm saying standing room only, they were lined up down the fences. It was neat just racing in front of that big of a crowd. And I know without fans coming in, that means the promoters are banking on the back gate. Well, you can't run a racetrack off the back gate. It's never going to be successful that way. And what that did or whatever, like I said, it brought all those people in. Well, they're selling hot dogs and nachos and drinks. And I want to say they were even selling beer on tap and stuff there. And man, they made all their money back on that by far. I mean, it was the Angel brothers. I can't remember the brother that was there all the time. But anyway, we talked about it and stuff quite a bit and linked, and he just like, man, we make a killing, doing it that way, just off of concessions. So it was, I don't know, like I said, the fan side of this stuff, without the fans being there, what are we racing for other than, the competition between, some of us buddies and this, and bragging rights. But you don't want to go and race in front of nobody. I mean, that's not enjoyable. When COVID happened and we were going and racing and all we had was a streaming thing. I mean, and again, thank God for streaming. But with nobody in the stands, it feels like a ghost town out there, and it's like it just don't feel right. So I know how important it is for those people to be there, and again, you never know who's sitting in the stands either that could be a potential sponsor or another potential racer, somebody that's thought about being in racing, and they come by after the races just to kind of have a chat, and next thing you know, you're talking somebody new into the sport. So it's always been important to me. I think people probably in the moment being hyped up about winning sometimes just kind of forget the bigger picture. And maybe it's because I've done it as long as I have. It's just I just kind of remember. I mean, I know what it's like to be amped up and forget to thank sponsors, but it's just one of those deals. The fans are super important to our sport, and I say that at the racetrack and on the streaming side of this stuff, because streaming is that's another thing. It's paying for a lot of our racing and stuff now that a lot of people don't really realize that it's doing.
That's the biggest challenge. I mean, you got to get people to the track. I mean, that's new energy. That's new different things that you get people involved. I mean, it's really cool, to have people watching shows like this and listening to you and all that. But yeah, you get them there, and it's kind of a whole different thing. So, lastly, Ray Allen. So with you, it's like, so where are you going to be this weekend? I mean, a lot of guys were like, so what's the next race? I know you're going to race this weekend. Where are you going and what you driving?
Again, my planning to be at Texana this weekend. Like I said, with them paying $1,000 and pretty well, to my knowledge, I think they're paying $1,000 in all the classes this coming weekend. So, I like what Cord and them are doing over there. Obviously, anytime you put money up, that's 100% where I'm going to go. But like I said, they have given that facility such a facelift, and so much work has gone into that place, and the pride that they take into their facility is I mean, how can you look away from it? It's just kind of one of those deals. They work hard at it. I appreciate the effort that they're putting in, and I want to support that. Like I said, I enjoy racing anywhere and everywhere. I just going wherever the money is at, and what makes financial sense. And like I said, we're going to try to run 2 cars this weekend and see if we can pick up 2 wins.
That's the way to do it. Well, hopefully I'll get to talk to you at least once, if not twice, on Saturday. So best of luck. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you this weekend, dude.
All right. I appreciate y'all.
You, man. Thanks for jumping on. You bet.
Yes, sir.
There he goes right there, Ray Allen Kohonik. And what was he talking about right there? It's that whole thing that you asked him about with the fans. I mean, that is so important to me. I think that where you lit, especially now where crowds are a little more scarce from time to time, to for the drivers to let them know that, they appreciate, the crowd being there. And I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah, no, that was the one thing that caught my mind. And we've noticed it with the guys that we've interviewed both at the racetrack and on here. It seems like the guys that have raced the higher end, no, they're higher, you know what I mean when I say higher end, touring series, big mods, sprint cars, stuff like that. Those guys get that big picture. A lot of the local guys sometimes don't understand it. I also appreciate the guys that get out and thank the racetrack. Thanks the racetrack for being open. Thanks for having the, A, B, C, D. And but yeah, that's the one thing that I will say. That was the one big thing. The message I got when I was, I finally got to work a race with KR with the STEM series when they came down to Texana a couple of weeks ago, and that was his biggest thing. He says, look, I don't care if you're mad at me, I don't care if you're mad at the guy next to you, I don't care if you lose by a foot or you lose by a mile. The one thing you have to do is you have to thank them fans for showing up.
Yep.
And he says, you want to come chew my ass when we're done? Come chew my ass after you thank them fans for showing up and watching you race.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely. Good stuff right there. Jared Fryer, Ray Allen Kohonik, talking about what's coming up for them and just talking pavement and dirt track racing. Of course, if you're going to the track, you got to have the My Race Pass app. You'll look smart. You can talk racing. You can check results. You can check all of that. Here's My Race Pass. Hopefully.
Welcome to the My Race Pass app, the #1 app for motorsports fans. We want to make sure you get the most out of your My Race Pass app experience. With your new free account, you can use the My Race Pass app to see race day information, including event entries and official lineups and results for over 600 organizations across North America. You can also see track information and purchase online event tickets for select tracks. With your free account, you can also search for a track or series on the My Race Pass app and favorite their profile to receive news and race day notifications on your mobile device. To see more information and to see which app subscription is best for you, be sure to visit getmrpapp.com. My Race Pass.
Yeah, that thing is really cool. That thing is really, really cool. Download that, and you can stay in the know with everything going on. Bobby, we got to go down the NASCAR road. Announced today, NASCAR, the finale in 2026, heading back to Homestead. there's a lot of folks that are really excited about that, and probably it's the same people that wanted it gone from Homestead, but that's just the way it works. But I kind of like the shift right there. I kind of like it getting out of Phoenix, that race to me, even though Phoenix, it's really hard for me because Phoenix does a really good job. Arizona does a really good job with embracing all of that finale with everything going on there. But I think that the move right there is probably something to kind of just jazz it up a little bit. Sure shit, Phoenix is going to produce an amazing finale this year, but I kind of like the move, just kind of doing something different, kind of throwing a little bit of a curveball in there.
Yeah, worst kept secret in racing here in the last couple of weeks that they were going to move the 26 finale to Homestead. The interesting part was that from the Ben Kennedy press conference today, or this morning, I guess, was that they're even opening it up to the possibility of when they rotate the tracks to actually do it in an SMI track.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought was very interesting. Not as keen to the idea about having it on a road course, which makes sense because NASCAR is a predominantly oval-based series, right? You're going to leave a road course to the open wheel guys, but I think it's a good thing. I think you run it 1 to 2 years at every facility. Switching it out yearly actually works really well for me. But like when they constantly ran Homestead year after year from 02 to 19 or whatever it was, that's why Jimmy Johnson smoked their ass so much. He was really good at Homestead. So, he's come through, I think that's the one advantage to rotating it out. But that definitely ends up being just a challenge. I mean, you want to see the guys get challenged. That's why Texas ended up being such a damn good race, because the guys were challenged. It wasn't just a lazy afternoon there at Bristol or a lazy afternoon at Talladega. And Homestead, Homestead and Phoenix both have put on some really good races. But ever since that spring race at Homestead, everybody's been saying, let's go back. And they're talking about making some capital improvements on the racetrack. They got from now until the end of next year. Before they end up having to have any race fans over there. So they got plenty of time to make that place spick and span, so to speak.
Yeah, and a lot of that is, I mean, with the Penske domination, I mean, they obviously have figured out, Phoenix. So, I mean, that's part of it. They're not going to say that, but I mean, you pretty much know. I mean, Kyle Larson has talked about it to where it's like, if I'm going to Phoenix, and I'm in that championship 4, I got to beat the Penske cars. I mean, because they've been that good there. But I do like the shakeup. I do like moving it around. And I'm glad you mentioned TMS, because I do want to talk about, I wasn't, I hit the, stands a couple of different times. And to me, it was really, really cool to see. I know I messaged you and I said, TMS is back. I mean, take a look at this right here. And I know a lot of people, I mean, because I've posted stuff about TMS with a good crowd, and it's like, well, they took out the backstretch stands, and the same old argument that we get all the time. But Bobby, it had been a long time, a really long time, that whether seeing it in person or seeing it on Fox, to where you had people in turn 4. I mean, you had people in those stands in turn 1 up to the Speedway Club. That was, and where TMS is so deceptive right now when you look at these pictures, and I'll pull this back up again. You can't really tell right here, but where they've gone in and they put took the seats out and put the trays there so you can set your beer, you can set your food and all that. It looks like an empty row, which it is. But that was a really, really, I mean, all nights, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, those were healthy crowds. And I can tell you from being in the fan zone, TMS, and Bobby, it was like the old days. I was going to send you a picture. They had them parked, you know how it is with the concrete parts and all that. They had them parked all the way out past the roads into the grass all the way back. I mean, it was nice. It was a big win for TMS this weekend.
I think so. And we're not going to deny the fact that there's not as many seats as there once were. Is there a demand for 200,000 seats at Texas Motor Speedway? Absolutely not. Is there a demand for 200,000 seats?
Anywhere.
Two places. Daytona and Indianapolis. That's the only 2 places that have a need for 200,000 seats, right? And I think Daytona caps out at like 110 every year, versus the 300 at Indy. But those are anomalies, right? Those are the tent pole races. I expect those races to be sold out every year. I expect huge crowds. In terms to bring it back around to TMS, I think that it's some people called it a resurgence. I think has been the biggest thing is we hadn't heard a lot of negative stuff about TMS. I've heard way more negative stuff about Talladega than I did about TMS. And then Bristol, for Christ's sakes. I mean, we didn't hear anybody say anything good about that Kyle Larson last whooping down there at Bristol a couple of weeks ago. So I think the fact that Texas delivered, there was enough cautions to make it interesting, but not enough cautions where everybody instantaneously called it a wreck fest.
Yeah.
That ended up being, and there were some big ones too. There were some pretty good size collisions down there too.
Yeah. I think what you're getting a lot of for the folks that are kind of the naysayers on TMS is with the cautions, it's a lot of the same people that said you didn't have kind of the mayhem at Talladega. And now it's too many cautions at Texas. And that's back-to-back races where you've had a lot of that. And I think that the track is, I heard Kyle Busch talking about this, to where the track, it's been, we're 5 or 6 years into this repave, to where it's getting a little bit of character. You really don't have 2 lanes, but I think at the same time you do have 2 lanes, because you did see people up on the outside, and I keep hearing the word treacherous kind of tied into TMS. I've heard comparisons to Darlington and all that, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, to me, that's not a bad thing. And I have thought, when it comes to finales and all that, if TMS of Texas can pull what they did this weekend, because it wasn't just Sunday, it was the entire weekend. If you can pull that kind of input and that kind of excitement, I mean, it could be a destination. I mean, with a 1 year, or one time a year, it could be something that works. I'll tell you something that was really interesting to me, and this is kind of on the heels of Cinco de Mayo yesterday. Bobby, there were a lot of, and I think this is a lot of Daniel Suarez. This is a lot of Coda with the Formula One thing, and Mexico City coming up. It was a huge Hispanic presence there. There were a lot of people where NASCAR's really growing that base, because the older fans, you can't count on them. They're done with NASCAR. There's a lot of new blood in this, and it was really cool to see kind of that. It was a resurgence to me for TMS.
Did they have a concert again, like that one we went to that time? No concert.
Nope, none of that. I mean, they had a pre-race concert, but it was a country guy. So yeah, I mean, it was a really a lot of different demographics that were there this weekend, but it really did seem like to me that. And I know people are bitching about the grass and all that. That thing was muddy. I told a buddy of mine, we were at the truck race, and the first wreck that we had there that took out Honeycutt, it's like I said, mark my words, Monday the topic will be take the grass out. Well, that thing was so muddy. But I really think that TMS is kind of turning that curve a little bit, to where maybe it's getting on the right track again.
Well, it's good to see. I mean, it's good to see. It's like when I was at Rockingham a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Good to see, right? I mean, I haven't seen that many people at a sold-out trip. It wasn't sold out for the truck race on Friday afternoon, but there was a hell of a lot of people there at Rockingham. And I think it just proves that the trucks can still be not necessarily the main event, main show. It still shows the trucks have some pulling power. Same thing with the Xfinity race. Xfinity race was great. I thought the Xfinity race at Texas was great. Obviously, the Xfinity race at Rockingham was fantastic. But I think that it shows that there is some staying power in the popularity of the Xfinity series. I think it's got a chance. It puts asses in seats and pulls eyeballs to televisions now. And that's not a bad thing to happen for the number 2 series in NASCAR. And more often than not, it's the number 2 most watched motorsports property over the weekend, usually beating out Formula One and definitely beating out IndyCar. It goes Cup, Xfinity, IndyCar, Formula One, IndyCar, kind of varies by the week. But yeah, I mean, I think that those have shown that those 2 series have shown that they have the ability to pull stuff. TMS was a great race. Rockingham was a great race. They're off for a couple of weeks, unfortunately, so we won't see them back until Charlotte for the 300 and Memorial Day weekend. So it was good. It was just good all around to see TMS be TMS.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get a chance. I was supposed to go, but didn't get a chance to go because obviously I was working on some of the stuff at the family homestead. But I mean, it was it was good to see. The Cup race did not disappoint. But it was one of those things, man. That Michael McDowell block with like 2 to go. I couldn't believe he pulling that off. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's one guy you don't chop off with a couple of laps to go is Logano, because there's one thing that he is not going to do. He is not going to lift. He's going to put that Flintstone thing, push his foot through the floor. So
yeah, no doubt. I mean, it really was throughout the weekend there at TMS. It really was where it seemed like it got a new lifeline. You know what I mean? It was so hard to tell. I mean, being in the fan zone, it seemed like a lot of people. I mean, it seemed like a lot of people. I know when I was in the fan zone at Coda, it's like it's a lot of people. But then you go and you look, and it's like maybe it's not so many, but it's so spread out. But I mean, to really go and see those stands. I mean, I talked to some people, kind of in the know on Sunday morning. I text you, and they're like they're selling single seat tickets, which they hadn't done in so long. Yeah, they're opening up sections that had not been used in so long, and you actually had, corporate people that wanted to be a part of it, and they were cleaning suites out and stuff that hadn't been used in several years, and that's definitely something where I think it's on the good side, and the track, I still hear people to where you're going to go back and fix it and whatever. I think you just leave it alone. I mean, let it kind of weather itself. Atlanta, you remember Atlanta, California, it really aged itself into some of the best racing. I'm not sitting here telling you that Texas is going to be the best race of the year, but I'll be damned. It was really I was really glad to see the place full, not full, but somewhat full
comparatively to others.
Yeah, Bobby, because the last few years, I mean, we've sat there where you're looking around. It's like, my God, what is going on here? I mean, you couldn't give tickets away, and yeah, it's really really good for the old lady. Really cool to see that because it's still such a beautiful place. It's still such a great place to be.
It really is a great place to be, but I just think that it's just that hospitality and some of the other stuff that goes along to it. But the thing that I surprised the most by social media, especially people that we know. I mean, we know hardcore race fans and stuff like that, but was the sheer number of people that went to both COTA and TMS.
Yeah,
because those are two completely different atmospheres. I mean, I remember back in the day, the infield at TMS was rivaling Talladega Boulevard. I don't think it's that wild and crazy now as it once was, but I mean, the number of people that actually ended up going to both and having a good time at two completely different track experiences, I think was a really good thing. In terms of having both venues being successful. Obviously, both SMI facilities or SMI promoted events, as in the case of COTA. But I don't know. I was just happy to see it. I mean, it was funny how remember when the Car Tomorrow came out and everybody hated it. Now all of a sudden you see clips of a Car Tomorrow race. Everybody's like, remember how great that racing was back in the day versus this next gen piece of shit.
Yeah.
Everybody used to say the same thing. Remember how great the racing was back in the 80s versus this Car Tomorrow piece of shit?
Yeah. I remember when they went to the short car, and guys winning by 3 laps, and that's the heyday. I'm like, whatever. But I mean, the good thing was about TMS, and the other part of that was because like Wednesday through Friday, the weather was horrible.
It rained like a son of a bitch up there.
Yeah, and it was. I saw some folks posting where there were pictures of the racetrack, and it was like there's nobody camping. I saw people actually post, well, it's so sad at TMS. Nobody wants to camp. You couldn't. They would not let you in the place. But where the pictures were not being posted was what was outside, because they had them lined up outside, and they were lined up, Bobby.
They were ready to camp. They just wouldn't let them in the wet grass.
Dude, they were all the way from like trying to get in there, from the tunnel or off of 114 Dale Earnhardt Way, all the way to 35. I mean, they were sitting there lined up, and inside the track it wasn't full, but it was damn near full. I mean, you go back and watch that. I mean, the outside camping sites, no, they weren't full like they used to be, but there were a lot of people up in there. So it was really good to see. It's kind of like when an old friend does something really good and you're like, way to go, buddy. That was kind of my thought with TMS, where it's like, damn it, good job. Good job. And they've cleaned the place up. I got to tell you, I know I text you like that under the stands thing with the bars and the belly up and all that. Dude, that is super freaking cool. I mean, they've done a really good job doing that stuff. They've evolved with the times to where it's like we can win new people, because you can sit at like one of the bars under the stands, what used to be the walkway where they had all the concessions and all that bullshit. You can sit at those bars, and the noise is not overwhelming. You can sit there, have a drink, do whatever, and have a conversation with whoever you're with. And that's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool.
Well, part of it too is that when you have a place like Globe Life and you have a place like Jerry World in the same market, you got to know what your competition is.
Yep.
And as dumb as that sounds, where you can't correlate, I mean, it costs more to go to an NFL game than to a NASCAR race.
Yep.
But you have to understand your market and understand your competition there, and that's two major competitors to TMS that get eyeballs and asses in seats. So, kudos to TMS and the guys for doing such a good job. Speaking of TMS, how about the dirt track with High Limit, dude? There was an ass load of people there at the dirt track too, both Thursday and Saturday.
And I think that was a lot of the kind of the carryover right there, because I talked to a lot of dirt track folks, that were there that maybe went for High Limits. and we're kind of making a double dip out of that. And I think that that's a really good, kind of coup right there is when you bring Casey Kane and these guys in. I mean, that you're going to get the carryover. If you're going there, I mean, might as well hang around for both, right? So I saw a lot of that. And kind of to your point right there about the DFW, I think what's even cooler about this weekend, I don't know if it necessarily factored into the Sunday crowd, but think about this. So you had the Saturday game 7 for the Stars. You had all of that going on. I mean, the Rangers were in town playing Oakland, but still, I mean, all of that. And then you had the Byron Nelson. You had Scotty Scheffler shooting 32 under par. So you had all of that going on, and you still had a great turnout. So that's where you get to a market like that. I think that's one of the things that has really hurt TMS is, like you're saying, the Cowboys, the Rangers, the Mavericks, all of this. I mean, it's just so competitive. I think that they really figured out the date to hit when it comes to a NASCAR race and the high limits. I mean, and that's the whole thing. You bring them in and you're going to have the carryover. You're absolutely. Isn't it so weird that we talk about a sprint car race? Oh, by the way, let's go to the Cup race also. It's crazy.
Well, the part of it too that's crazy is that Kyle Larson said he doesn't want to piggyback off the Cup races. Why the hell not? Think about the race in Vegas, how packed that track was.
Yep.
Think about the race at TMS, how packed that was. Yes, they've been off due to Mother Nature and some rainouts and some wind outs and stuff like that. But still, why not take advantage of that? Put your Cup cars in these sprint cars. They want to run them with the weekends they're running in Cup. Bring their ass to the dirt track because that's going to bring asses to the seats. And the most expensive seat at a racetrack is the empty one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really good thing where that TMS dirt track, I mean, for so long, you remember the last few times we went up there in a media, aspect. I mean, you sat there and you looked at that thing. And when you talk about TMS kind of having a resurgence, I mean, that's the one where you looked at that and it's like, holy shit, that is so sad looking at that monster. And it goes back to, where other people, I talked to some other people to where it's like, wow, there wasn't nobody at the sprint car race. Look how big those stands are. I mean, that thing is
15 grand.
Oh, shit. I mean, at least. I mean, that thing is massive. I hadn't been up there, Bobby, in so long. And when I went to the Power Eye race, I went walking up there and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, when I look at a local track and there's nobody there, there's nobody there because it'll hold 1,000 and there's, 10 people there. But that place is so massive. And I think that I think they're getting the idea over there that to correlate everything. And it does seem like, I know it's been with SMI, I mean, it's been Eddie Gossage not there and everything that happened. It was just a lot that happened at one time. I just really think that from the fan experience to just everything that they did, I mean, even some of the hospitality stuff that I saw with people coming through with TMS, whether on the dirt or at the NASCAR race or the Xfinity race. Bobby, there were people coming through during the rain on Friday for the truck race. It was a hospitality thing, and this shit was top notch, like it would be on a Sunday. And I think that that's something that they've hit on, and I think it's on the upswing.
And I think that it's not close enough to COTA to keep you from going to both.
Right.
With COTA coming in at the second race of the year, which I think is too early for COTA, but I think having it TMS, you're right. It kind of hit on a sweet spot, and you never know what the weather's going to do in April and May in Texas. You just never know. It's probably going to rain generally, but I mean, where else are you going to put Texas on the calendar? You can't do what they did with the Austin race, have it come in the middle part of the summer. It's too damn hot.
Yeah, and I think
not going to put them in the playoffs again because there's too many other tracks that want to be in the playoffs in October, November. So
and then you've got hunting season, you got football, you got the Cowboys, you got high school. That's the other thing that people don't realize is, and when it comes to a fall date at TMS, you have to factor in high school football. I mean, it sounds stupid. But
hunting. Why that Cup race was always on opening Sunday of hunting season? I never understood that.
Yeah, I never understood that. So I think that they found their spot. And just think about this, because what you have right now is you have TMS that I mean, I think that they did really well, a mile and a half. Then you're going to Kansas. Kansas will provide you a great race. It always does. You've got Wilkes, with the All-Star race, and you go to the 600 and the Indianapolis is in there. And I think it just kind of fits in with the sweet spot of the sports schedule to where NBA playoffs and NHL, and it just kind of slides in there. I think it's a really good date for them and tying in the sprint car. I talked to one guy in particular that was talking about he had gone to COTA, had never been to a NASCAR race. He was from, I think it was from the Waco area, went down to COTA, and he was like, yeah, it was really cool. I saw him before the Xfinity race, and then I saw him after the Xfinity race, and he's like, man, COTA was really cool, but this was really cool because I was sitting in a spot where I could see the entire track, and they're going really fast. I mean, they are hauling ass around that place, and grip is at a premium, and it's a good combination. I mean, I know that, that the 2-race thing, it's just not meant to be, but the COTA, I mean, you said it, that's a great balance right there for them for Texas.
Yeah, because as long as COTA's on the schedule, Texas won't get 2 races.
Yeah,
they had it and it failed when they had the All-Star race and then the spring race. The market's not conducive here to have that many Cup races here.
Right.
But I don't know. I got to get you to Rockingham, dude. That race, you would think that a half a mile would not make that big a difference to see the backstretch, but damn, it really does.
Yeah.
You can see the backstretch all day long there from the grandstands at Rockingham. So
yeah. Good times, and good for TMS, our friends over there at TMS. Really, really happy that they got them one. They deserve it. Got them a good one. Coming up this week, I had my race schedule in front of me. You guys have TRP. Man,
got Stims at Cotton Bowl, baby.
Stims at Cotton Bowl. That's I'm looking forward to that one. I mean, and by the way, I mean, you guys there at TRP, what, 29 cars? Is that what you have?
26.
26. So yeah, curious to see what happens at Cotton Bowl. Get them big old modifieds out there. I think they got to have one hell of a race.
I bet they get 30 because that was one hell of a race they had going on there at Texana. So I don't know. KR, it was so cool. Like I said earlier, it was so cool to finally get to work a race with KR. Mm-hmm. As many times he's been on the show and as many times we had a chance to, you've had a chance to do it a couple of times, work with him down at Corpus. But it was nice to finally work, and he's pretty damn good at his craft. He's underrated as a race director.
It's really good,
and underrated as a promoter too, because he has his act together, and it was fun. It was fun to be a part of. I actually missed our drivers meeting because I was part of his drivers meeting. And more than likely, if you get to the racetrack early enough, fans are more than welcome to attend the Stims drivers meeting that happens at their merch trailer.
Nice,
courtesy of On Demand Shirts, partners of ours, and it's On Demand Shirt Night. At Cotton Bowl Speedway, 2 of our partners teaming up together for the races coming up this weekend there at Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, going to be a big night out there at CBS. Plenty of racing around the region, plenty of racing around the state of Texas, plenty of racing around the country. Great show tonight. We talked some pavement with Jared Fryer. Always, like I said, Bobby, if we're going to bring this thing back, which it's back Tuesday, 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern. If we're going to bring it back, we had to do it with Fryer, Ray Allen Kohanic. Man, we had everything covered. Like old times, man. Like old times. Like we were never gone. Never gone.
Like we were never gone for 4.5 weeks.
I tell you what, man. And it was. I think maybe we should at some point. Again, I don't want to hurt any feelings. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I would like to give the reasons that people wanted Revved Up back full time.
Real race talk is one of the reasons, but
real race talk in your beautiful face. That's what it was. Those were the top 2.
Yeah, those are the top 2. I mean, that and the fact that it's live. That's what the live icon stands for. Not recorded here, always live, and definitely not your typical. That's why I don't call it a podcast. No. It's a live cast because we be live and in color and in person with all the bells and whistles and potholes and speed bumps to go along with being live sometimes.
It's a podcast later. You can catch a podcast when we are done. It'll be a podcast, but we do this shit live, and that's where, I mean, it'd be easy to record. We can record. I mean, but it's more funner, if that's a word.
The funnest place on earth, right here at the Revved Sports Show.
Teacher Appreciation Week, I think it is.
It's always Teacher Appreciation Week around my house.
Oh, I tell you, it should be. I mean, because the teachers are the ones that are, in charge of all these lug nuts that we're putting out into the world. So, appreciate those teachers. Appreciate those first responders. Appreciate people that are servicing you, a service industry person. Don't take your frustrations out on people that are trying to help you. I saw a little bit of that this weekend where people are bitching people out for no reason. I'm like, come on, man. Just let's all get along here. Let's.
I mean, don't Deshaun Watson your service industry people, but
don't do that. Justin Tucker.
Justin Tucker.
Oh my man. Lifetime Longhorn right there. I tell you, it's what are they teaching him over there at the 40 acres?
Well, he was there a long time ago, so
he's a long time ago. Long time ago.
That's what it takes. That's part of your NIL deal now.
That's right. Check it out. Look who's checking in right here, our friend Kayla Patterson, the gorgeous Kayla Patterson. I'm over here talking about massage therapists and the lovely Kayla Patterson. You guys. So yeah, good to hear from her. South Texas Race Ranch. Be sure and get out there. Be sure and get to Kennedale. Be sure
That's
and
right. The trucks are running at South Texas this weekend.
That's right.
Truckers Equipment Night down at the Speedway at the Race Ranch.
That's right. And Heart of Texas Speedway, you have a part 2 trying to do it hopefully with rain. And I have my fingers and toes crossed for them because it's supposed to get a little negligent here for the next couple of days. But you've got the Baby Blue Harcrow Memorial IMCA stock car race supposed to be on the docket there at the world famous Heart of Texas Speedway. So hopefully they get that one in, and hope every track gets to race this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a little better with Mother Nature, depending on where you're at in the state versus the last couple of weekends here.
Absolutely. Been a little treacherous. Man, this has been fun. Let's do it again next Tuesday. We'll line up some guests and we'll rock and roll one more time. #Real Race Talk.
That sounds like a good time. I'll
All
put
right.
it on the calendar. That's right. Tuesdays. The boys at Russ are back.
Tuesday. If you misspell Tuesday, that's okay. It's the second day of the week, the day after Monday, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Be sure and check in because it's live, like we always talk about. #Real Race Talk. That's Bobby down south. I'm Rodney up north. We haven't moved, and we still like each other. People are like, did you guys get a divorce? No, we still like each other. So we'll do it again next Tuesday, you guys. Thanks for being a part of the program. It's #Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show. See you guys next time around.